Tonight on James Talk Africa, my guest is Thami Ngubeni, an award-winning radio and TV talk show host, producer, speaker, author, and MC. She's widely known as the host of the radio show The Sacred Place on SAFM. She sits down with me to talk about her journey with Christ and the impact that walking with Christ makes in the marketplace. Tonight on James Talk Africa.
Hi there, welcome to this segment of your show. Like I said in the introduction, my guest today is Thami Ngubeni. She's a South African actress, writer, presenter, and radio personality. Thami, you're welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Thank you.
I have looked forward to this, Thami. Let me start with our normal icebreaker. I'm going to throw questions at you, and you will just give me what is true about Thami.
Okay.
Cats or dogs?
Definitely dogs.
Do you have any presently?
Yes, I've got two little pups.
That shows your commitment to dogs.
Actually, I've had a phobia for cats. For the longest time. I grew up. I was afraid of cats.
They're witches?
Not even so much that. I remember once when we were kids at home, there used to be this cat in our backyard that used to keep us awake at night all the time, and it used to cry like a baby.
I hate that one.
And there was one time I got out of the house and I went to the back of the house and I saw a cat this big. I kid you not. Okay, granted.
Baby lion.
It looked like a baby. I saw a cat this big. Granted, I was, small myself, so it might have been exaggerated in my mind. But I've literally had a phobia of cats for the longest time until we were put in a situation where I had to care for a cat and its kittens.
Wow.
And that was literally a God-ordained moment, because that is what the Lord used to remove the fear from my heart. Because we really ought not to be afraid.
There should be no
anything.
fear in our
There should be no fear, but this is one phobia that I had. And there were some cats that found ourselves, I think it was a neighbor's cat that found ourselves in our yard, and it had kittens and they were so cute. I think that's the contradiction. I was afraid of cats, but I loved kittens. So I cared for the kittens, and then the mom was also around. And so we just took care of them, and we groomed them, and they grew. And then we, took them to the SPCA to come and get them in bed. So that entire period, those few days of taking care of these kittens and the cat, literally
freed you from your phobia.
From my phobia.
So tell me, what's your best meal?
My best meal, I have several because I'm a foodie.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a foodie. I love salmon, Norwegian salmon.
Okay.
I love that. You can give that to me anytime. I love myself a good oxtail. Umlekwa, which is the wild chicken in Xhosa. Uchek, which is dumpling. I love that. Yeah, so I'm a simple girl.
Apples or oranges?
I went through a season of just apples. And then I rediscovered the sweetness of oranges. So I cannot choose. It has to be both.
It has to be both, okay.
Just depending on my mood.
Now, if you're stranded on an island and you already have the Bible and you had a choice of just one other book, what would that book be?
It would have to be an empty journal and a pen.
So you would be able to journal.
Yes. So give me blank pages. Give me a blank page.
Much better than carrying any other book.
It's much better than ingesting, because the Bible is everything. The Bible has absolutely everything.
Makes sense.
So after eating from the Word, let me break it down, meditate on it, and then write down my thoughts.
Wonderful. And journaling is a beautiful thing, especially when it comes to studying the Bible. Your favorite movie?
I have a couple.
There's always a list.
I have a couple.
Okay.
I'll tell you one of them. Is The Matrix.
Okay, I know that one.
The Matrix with Keanu Reeves. And I like that because, it's got so much of the spiritual life peppered throughout it, and principles of life and living, and spiritual principles and godly principles in there. I think if you've got the eyes to see, you will see it. If you've got the ears to hear, you will hear them. But I learn so much from it, and I just see an affirmation of things coming out. So that's one of my favorite movies. Another one is Ghost. Can you believe it?
That's a horror one.
No. With Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore.
I've not seen that one.
Oh.
Is it a comedy?
And it's got Whoopi Goldberg in it.
Is it a comedy?
Well, it's a romantic comedy.
Okay.
Not comedy, ha.
Okay.
but a romantic comedy. So that's one of the two of my faves.
Okay.
Yeah, so I like to keep it light.
I've seen Metrics. Maybe I'll go check out Ghost.
Yeah, you like ghosts. I'm not going to spoil the plot for you. I was just about to go into the storyline, but I'm not about to do that.
Now, if you were to play Windows or Eyes, which one do you choose?
Oh, definitely window.
Okay. Morning person or night person?
It depends.
Or you're not steadily night or morning?
Yeah, because it depends on my schedule, and it depends on my prayer schedule as well, and my work schedule. And sometimes the two merge, and night merges into morning, and morning merges into night, and you just don't know the difference.
What's your earliest memory as a person?
My earliest memory, I think it's a bit unfair because it's prompted by a picture. So I don't really know if it's a memory I have,
or if there's a picture that is
or if it's the picture that I'm remembering it.
I get what you mean by
that. But here it is. It's me dressed in I was probably 4 or 3 years old, wearing my panties under a tap of running water, literally having a shower under this waterfall of a tap at my grandparents' house. That's my earliest memory.
Wow, that's a good one. And what's your favorite city around the world? Which one is one city you go, Chim, this is my favorite city in the world?
Ooh. I would have to, unfortunately, and it's a bit unfortunate, because I would have loved for it to be Johannesburg, but it's not. I think LA is my lady.
LA.
Yes.
You schooled there.
Yes.
Okay. What is your favorite song?
My favorite song?
Mm-hmm.
I've got a song for every season, a song for every life experience.
Which one is it right now?
So right now, See What the Lord Has Done.
Nathaniel Bassey.
Yes.
It speaks to you. That
speaks to me now
season.
Because that and Goodness of God, CC Winans, because I'm seeing the goodness of God.
Wow.
And I'm experiencing the goodness of God, and
Praise
I'm living
God.
in His goodness.
Praise God.
And so I'm constantly marveling, like, see what the Lord has done. And you and I were having this conversation earlier on that it doesn't have to be anything extraordinary. It doesn't have to be an earthquake moment, an earthquake achievement. But it's just in the little things that I just feel so carried.
Praise God.
And I feel so loved. And I'm like, Father, you've got me. I see you. Thank you. And so I'm just very grateful.
Wow. When you see the Lord God face to face, what would be one question you want to like? God, I've had this on my mind all these years on earth. Now answer this for me.
I don't think I'll have any questions.
You won't have any questions?
No,
okay.
I just, for me, the biggest win is being in His presence. I'll tell you something. Yesterday, or not yesterday, but on Sunday, the Sacred Space, I was interviewing a young lady whom I was meeting for the first time, and she's one of the nominees for the awards. She came into the studio, and she gave me one of the most beautiful hugs that I've ever had, because she poured herself into me. She just like that. And when I meet the Lord, I think that's going to be me.
That's going to be the reaction.
Yeah, that's going to be me. I don't need to know anything. I don't need to ask anything. Can I just be here with you? That's all.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sweet. That's beautiful.
That's all.
I'm sure the Lord is smiling now. Something about Thami that most people don't know. Something about you that most people don't know.
Something about me that most people don't know. Most people don't know. I've got a little birthmark in my ear, a little dot in my ear. I don't think a lot of people know that.
Wow. Okay, now some know. If you found that you had only 6 more months left on this earth, what would be something you would say, I gotta get this done, gotta get this off? It's something I've been waiting and procrastinating about, but I gotta do it before I leave the earth.
I wouldn't, 6 months would not be enough. 6 months would not be enough. 6 months would not be enough to do all the things that I would want to do. But I think the most important thing is if I knew and I was wrapping up my life and I had the opportunity, because I think it's a privilege actually to know that you are leaving because you wrap your things up. For me, relationships are just so key and so important. there are people that I would perhaps call up and just let them know I love them, let them know I care, give the I'm sorries where I need to, because sometimes, you may think you've said I'm sorry, but sometimes you need more than a one I'm sorry, because it's not so much about you saying you're sorry, but about the person receiving it and being freed from, whatever it is that's been holding them captive. So I think for me, it would be that, just making sure that my people know I love them and that I care. It would be going out and maybe helping those who may not have met Christ or know Christ, to know him better, to serve him better. I think I would just want to find out, what do you need and how may I be of service to you? So that it's not so much about what I want to give to you, but what can I give to you? What gift can I give of myself as I leave you? For the Lord has deposited so much. And so where can I serve you? I think those would be the best ways for me to live out my last 6 months. If I could have a bucket list of things that people would want me to do and how I can enhance their lives, and within those 6 months, let me see how I can reach as many of them as possible. Sometimes it may even be about opening a door, or maybe an introduction to something or somebody, or advice, or they just want to sit, or they might want to go for a swim or for a hike or for a walk, whatever the case may be. You may just want to bake. What can I do for you that you would appreciate as I leave?
That's beautiful. Thami, let's go back. How was it like growing up? Where and how was it?
I grew up largely with my grandparents. Those are like pretty much the first memories. My grandmother, my grandfather, my cousins, in a house full of kids. It was filled with prayer, filled with laughter, filled with song. And I remember us just taking turns with the dishes, taking turns with cleaning the house. That really long stoop that we used to have, that we used to shine all the time. So I had a really beautiful childhood, with my grandparents, Tatmao, Makolo, Tatomkolo, my cousins, my mom and my dad. My life is very much compartmentalized.
Okay.
Different phases of my life.
Okay.
There's my earliest memories, which are with my grandparents at my grandparents' house, they got home. And then my other grandparents at Tema, Kwatema. And then there's another phase of my life where it was my mom and my dad and my siblings. My parents got divorced. I was very young. By the time I was 6 years old, we were already with my stepfather. So my mom was already into her second marriage. And so that was also a beautiful era of my life. I loved my stepdad like crazy.
But how did it affect you at a 6-year-old?
I have no recollection of it.
Oh, that's interesting.
I have no recollection of any of that, to be honest with you.
Okay, there was nothing nothing negative that remained.
Nothing negative that remained. And I think that's because I really lived with my grandparents for the first few years of my life. And so my first real memory of a mother and a father and us together is with my stepdad, and not so much with my biological father.
Because you just had a few years
because I just had a short time with him.
Okay.
I really just reconnected with my biological dad later on in life.
Yeah. Okay.
But growing up those early years, it was more around my step.
So that was your father then, so, as far as you knew.
So he was my dad. I knew he was my stepdad, because I also knew my father.
Okay.
But we had the relationship of father and daughter because we spent the time together, because we lived together. And that was a beautiful time in my life. I think we learned so much, we explored so much. He was an amazing man. He's no longer with us.
Oh, he's gone ahead of us. Okay.
He's gone ahead of us. He's a man who loved life. He was a high achiever. He loved us. He loved me. I felt seen by him. I felt validated. I mean, I remember one of my earliest memories. After dinner, I plait his hair because he had an afro. He had an afro. So I plait his hair. But I plait his hair and then I knot it at the end. And the next morning, he's going to go to work and he can't unplait his hair. And so Thami had to be woken up so that she can go and unplait his hair so he can actually go to work.
And that was why you did that, so
And-
that
and
he
then-
could call you.
Not really. This is how I used to plant. So it was things like that. I remember sitting at around the table, our dinner table, after dinner, reading. We used to have these books. Here are Peter and Jane, and I'd sit there and I'd have to read. And at the time, I was probably like 6 years old, and I couldn't read English. And so instead of reading Here are Peter and Jane, I read Ere, Are, Peter and Jane. So that's still like one of the running jokes in the household.
I was like,
So
you used to read English in
in
vernacular.
vernacular, yes, I used to read English in vernacular, Ere, Are, Peter and Jane. But those were our beginnings.
Those sounds like very beautiful upbringing.
It really was. And I mean, I loved school. That's another thing. I loved school. I loved sport at school. I loved literature. And I had a really good relationships.
Thami, you've worked across all platforms and radio, TV, film, magazine. At one point, you were editor to Oprah's magazine here in South Africa, and on and on. At what point did you start, having this feeling that this is the direction I'm going to go?
I've always loved literature, and I've loved words, and I've loved drama. And I think it's because it deals with human beings and human expression. I think that's where it really comes from. Because at school, I was always in the public speaking, always in the debating, always in the acting, stage plays, etc. So it really started there, a love of language. I remember at school, I'd literally get 100% for literature, for our literature papers. And I remember that high of achievement and that just being able to do well. That's one of the things that really stimulate me. I just like, yes, they'll bring up the next one. So I love achieving and I love doing well. And that's one of my early memories of school as well. And so for me, I've played leading roles in various plays at school, whether they're musicals, etc. Even poetry, just writing poetry and narrative. So I knew that I loved the spoken word and I loved the written word as well. So for me, it was almost a natural progression of that. When I finished school, I would go into journalism, I would go into film and television. My other options were going into law and international relations. So those were my two different streams that I would have gone when I finished school. But actually, when I finished school, the very first thing I did was beauty therapy.
Okay.
More than anything else, I went and I studied aesthetics, beauty therapy. I finished in that. I never really worked much as a beauty therapist, just only when I was doing my internship. But it's actually something that's stood me in good stead now. And then I went and studied communications with journalism, and those are the courses included in psychology as well there. And then I went to the US and studied film and television, majoring in producing. And so that's really just the path that my life has taken.
True. Now you produce and you host the Sacred Space, on Metro FM here in Joburg. The concept came from you.
The concept came from me.
And how was it battered?
How it started is I used to contribute for True Love magazine. I had a column in True Love magazine and in Destiny magazine, and I'd call those columns my sacred spaces, because what they were my encounters with the divine, or moments that triggered a thought about life and principles and all of that. And I came to Metro FM. I'd been working at Metro before I left for the States. I actually was working at Metro as a newsreader while I was still studying communications. And so I was literally just coming back to the station that I'd worked for before. And what brought me back to Metro is that at the time I was producing The Apprentice. And so we, as the producers of The Apprentice, were doing one of our activities, and we're going to be partnering with Metro FM on that. And so I was also writing at the time. I've always juggled a couple of balls at the same time. And then I actually just said to the station manager, I'd love to actually do the show. Here's what I'm doing on True Love magazine. I'd love to put this on radio. And he was like, okay, that's great. Maybe you could do a slot on the Saturday morning show. So for the first few weeks or the months or so, I just came in and did an inspirational slot on a Sunday morning that was word-based, etc. And that's how it started.
Oh.
And then the year after that, they gave me the slot, and that's how I got the sacred space. And I named it the sacred space.
Wow.
Named it after the
column you were writing.
Yeah.
And that's gone on now for how many years?
Can you believe? It's 19 years.
Wow.
This year, next year is our 20th year.
Wow. It's going to be a big celebration.
It's going to be a big celebration by the grace of God. And, you know, I always say that the Lord has shown me his love through the sacred space. I cannot imagine my life without it. The Lord has kept me so close to him. He has made sure that I don't stray, that I don't go anywhere by keeping me there. And I know it's a place of service, and it's a platform of service that serves so many in their spiritual lives, but it also serves me. And a lot of listeners perhaps don't know this. They would call in and say, oh, you helped me with this and you've helped me with that, but they don't know how much they pour into my life and how much they invigorate me and how much their testimonies also affirm the goodness of God and the power of God. And so it's really just been a privilege, you know, to be in the middle of their worship.
Tell me, you are placed by God in this special space. So you're not working in Christian media, so to say, but you're a child of God, an ambassador of Jesus, and he's placed you in so many places. You're a newscaster, you're a host on radio, on TV. You find yourself in these spaces. Many times people have a problem with, you know, like a Christian being in some of this media space, especially acting in secular plays and all that. What's your own understanding of the call of God, of people like you in the spaces?
Well, first, all good things come from him, and we are the light of the world, and we are the salt of the earth. And so it is our duty, it is our calling to be the light wherever it is that he has placed us. It is our mandate to sit at the top of every single mountain, whether it's education or politics or religion or media or entertainment or family, whatever it is. Ours is to share the principles of the kingdom of God, because ultimately that's what it's about, right? It's about being principled and saying, let your will be done. So if you're a business person, let the will of God be done through your business. May you demonstrate that through what you do and how you do it. If you are an educator, you know, how you teach your children, what you teach them, how you deal with the parents, what the institution stands for, ought to be godly and righteous. And so the wheat and the tare will grow at the same time, and there is a place for us. And creation waits for the revelation of the sons of God, you know, for us to be the change makers, for us to give the hope, for us to say, yes, there is a way out and there is another way of doing things. That no, you don't have to compromise. Yes, you can let this go and you'll still be okay. Yes, there is a higher power which will provide for you. Yes, you are in the world, but not of the world. You know, and so it's important for us to say, yes, we're in the world, but not of the world, and to allow ourselves to be transformed, you know, by the renewal of our minds. And so in a time where there is so much darkness in the world, so much poverty, so much war, so much hopelessness, so much depression, you know, the people are killing themselves left, right, and center because they feel like there's no hope and that there's an emptiness. But we have something, a treasure, and it's our responsibility to share that treasure, you know, with the world, to say, yes, there is a way out, and that Jesus is the way, and that he is the truth, and he is the life. And so whatever you seek, you will find in him, and not by your standards or by your way, but by his way. And I think that perhaps a lot of the times that ends up being the stumbling block, because we want to do Jesus our own way. We want to do God our own way. It's funny because I was reading from Leviticus the other day when you know, the sons of Aaron were basically consumed by fire because they made a strange fire, an unusual offering, because they wanted to serve God in the way that they wanted, but it wasn't the way that God wanted it to be done. you know. And I think for me, one of my biggest comforts is realizing that everything that he wants for me is even better than what I want for myself. And so that's why I always say that surrendering is a bitter sweetness. It's bitter because I've got to die to self. It's bitter because there's things that I want to do that I cannot do. But it's sweet because I know it's for my good. And so just get through the bitter so you can get to the sweet. That's the bitter sweetness of surrender. And so we cannot, as Christians, we cannot as believers shy away, from being influencers for Christ in the world. Because the truth is, each and every single person that the Lord has created, he loves. Each and every single one of them, which is why he will leave the 99 for the one. And so ours is to love that one. Ours is to cater for that one. Ours is to introduce that one to Christ. So we cannot say we love God if we don't love his creation and we don't love his people. And so how do we love them? By showing them the way, by being there for them, by supporting them, by offering them a way out, giving hope, sharing what we have gotten with them.
Now, it's, one of the reasons why Christians stay away from this space is just the challenge of, you mentioned the compromise. I wouldn't compromise. What kind of challenges have you faced in this space?
I've had to walk away from many things that I've wanted, many things that I would have desired for myself. But I just had to walk away, and I could not compromise because I know that my compromising is my death. There's nothing that means more to me than my relationship with God. There's nothing that I treasure more than that. And so it's okay if I've got to lose this role or lose that. It is okay, because I know that the one who even brought in the first place is the one who will continue to take care of me and supply all of my needs. And so there are things that I would have maybe liked to have done, but I didn't do. And that is part of that bittersweetness of that surrender. But it's been worthwhile. I've got absolutely no regrets, and I would do the same over and over again.
As a Christian who is a film producer and an actress, there's always this issue of what kind of story should Christians be telling? In the sense of, do you tell a pure secular story, or you want to say, okay, this is a story with a redemptive value, but where do you draw the map? Where do you draw the line? Where do you say, okay, this is the kind of story as some Christians believe all you should be telling is church, Christian stories that have Jesus in it, faith-based stories. What's your own view?
I believe there's enough room for all of us, because the sun shines down on all of us and the rain falls down on all of us. And we are all at different stages of our spiritual growth and spiritual understanding. And so we cannot have one way of telling the story. Jesus used parables in order to communicate a message and in order to get the principles of godliness across. And those parables were about people, real people in real life circumstances, to drive a sacred point across. And so wherever it is that you may be placed in, whatever kind of storyteller you are, I still say tell the story in the way that you have been gifted to tell the story. Because rest assured, there's somebody who will get your message, but they won't get another message. There's someone that will hear your voice, but they won't hear somebody else's voice, because we are all different. That's part of like the grandeur of divinity, And so there's room for all of us. So tell your story, whatever that story may be. I mean, earlier on I spoke about The Matrix. Mm-hmm. That is not a Christian movie.
Yes.
It is not a Christian movie. By any means or standards. But when I see The Matrix, I see the principles, for example, of identity. That when you know who you are and you know who you are in Christ, then you are able to do all things, right? It's not necessarily written in there like that.
It's a parable.
But it's a parable. It's a parable. where there's the oracle who says to Neo, the main character, that when you know who you are and when you've discovered who you are, you won't have to dodge bullets anymore. You don't have to run away from the challenges in your life. And what happens at the end of it, he no longer dodges the bullets, but he stands there and the bullets literally do what he wants them to do. They basically drop down. When he says stop, they stop. When he does this, they drop down. You know, so he was suddenly in control of his world. You know, that greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. You know, and so you can read meaning into every single thing.
It's basically a parable.
It's a parable.
I love when you said there's space for everyone, because people might not hear the truth from you through the style of story you're telling, but they would hear from this one because that's the way they are wired.
That's the way they wired.
As an actress, would there be roles you would never ask?
You know, to be honest with you, I haven't been an actress for a very long time.
Okay, I know, but you've been an actress in so many platforms.
I'll tell you what.
I'm just picking your brain here because I ask these questions to Christians who are in the space where you are representing Christ in that secular space, and you're faced with all kinds of, because you're not in control with a story writer, you're called to be an actress, and you take up a script, you see a character, and there's some characters you go, no.
I'll tell you, for me, you mentioned character, and that's important. It's like, what is this character's storyline? What is this character's arc? What is redemptive about this character? So there are characters that I probably would play that are unsavory. But because they're going through the human experience, and because there's salvation for them at the end and their realizations, that I probably would end up playing that character because of where they end up and because of the journey that they went through. There is one script that I was actually offered, a role. They literally just called me up and said, you know, there's this character that we'd love for you to play, not so long ago. But it was a witchcraft character, you know, and that's a character that I was like, sorry, I can't do that one. That I'm not going to be doing, because I'm not going to be summoning any sort of spirits and conjuring things that I'm going to have to be casting out now after this. You know, because I really do understand the spiritual realm and what we're doing, and that, yes, you think you're playing a character and you're summoning things, but there is power in the tongue, and what you're doing there is actually real, even though you say that you are acting, but it is real, because there's nothing that we proclaim and that we say that does not become life in and of itself as a form. And so that's a role that I declined to play because of the witchcraft character of it. Yeah, so there are roles I would not play, and that's the witchcraft.
Makes sense.
That makes sense, Thami. I mean, like, it's just what I was driving at. There is a place you have to make a call because of what you stand for. And of course, you could start from the worst character, because in the Bible, we have some terrible characters. We have the devil even there. But the story ends up being redemptive because we show evil as evil. I think for me as a believer, I think Christians should be concerned about the outcome of the story. Is it showing good as good? Is it showing evil as evil? Or is it calling evil good and good evil? That should be something that not even just the individual character, but what are we all saying together? But the individual characters, like you said, also are very crucial. Thami, we would have to learn this. What does the future look for you in this space that God has put you, where you see God giving you, to call you to be a salt and a light? What does the future look like?
It's very varied. The journey that the Lord has taken me has been very diverse. You know, from a news anchor doing current affairs and the politics of the land and the continent, to being a minister of the gospel, to being a creative, to being a businesswoman. I was sharing with you earlier on that one of the most requests that I've gotten from the sacred space under my foundation is people wanting help with funerals, you know, to bury their loved ones with dignity. And those are the type of calls that always hurt me, because in a time of grieving, the last thing you need to be worrying about is how you're going to bury your loved one with dignity. there's nothing more painful than having to knock on doors, having to ask for money to bury a loved one. And so what we've done is we've put together a funeral cover, a funeral insurance cover, specifically targeted at believers. It's called Sacred Life.
Wow.
Because we say life is sacred, God is sacred, you are sacred. So we're with you not only at the end of your life when you need to bury your loved one or you yourself need to be buried, but also throughout the course of your life. You know, Romans says, if we live for the Lord. If we die for the Lord. So whether we live or we die, we are the Lord's. And so even throughout the course of your life, we are there to assist you with your spiritual growth, assist you with material, practical things of living. You know, how does a life that is sacred look like? What does an abundant life look like? And so that really is our heart, as far as Sacred Life is concerned, to make sure that you're financially set up. We're also going to be including life cover and education cover to make sure that your children's education is taken care of as well. Estate planning, you know, so very much moving into the financial services sector of it. Money does not solve all the problems, but it solves many problems. And so there are things that we don't necessarily have to be praying about. They don't have to be prayer points, but we need to be educated financially. We need to be literate as far as how to manage our finances so we can focus on other more sublime things in life. I mean, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that the basics are the fundamentals. It's only when you are at the top when you can start self-actualizing. But how do you get there when you're still bread and butter issues?
Struggling with basic things.
Start struggling with the basics. So let's take care of the basics as much as we can so that really, you know, people can just be the best version of themselves.
Thami, you know what we're going to do? Right now on the screen, you can see details of how you can either go to the website or contact Sacred Life's funeral policy. Is that it? Is that what it's called?
Just called Sacred Life. Sacred
Life.
Yes.
So it will be on the screen there so people can benefit from this.
Amen.
Because I know there are a lot of people looking for something that is affordable, something that can work in their space, especially those who are believers who want all the extras. And even those who are not believers.
And even those who are not believers.
They want to deal with their spirit man. They want to be healthy. They want to deal with their finances. Thami, thank you so much for coming on the show. What would be your last word to our viewers as we wrap up?
I think the last word for me is one of my favorite scriptures. You know, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path.
Yeah.
Those would be my parting shots, because I have seen that word manifest in my life. I have seen the Lord give me a peace that surpasses all understanding in situations that were meant to have literally crippled me and that were meant to have just destroyed me. But I've seen the Lord carry me, and I've seen him turn darkness into light.
Praise God. So we'll be talking to Thami Ngubeni, and she's a producer, writer, actress, TV host, radio host, as well as many, many other platforms where she functions here in South Africa. Thami, thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
The pleasure is mine.
Great conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you next week.
Please like this video and leave a comment below. Let's know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell button and share this video with somebody.